level. Welcome to another edition of SchoolOwnerTalk.com. Now here's your host, Dwayne and Allie.
Hello, Dwayne Brummett here with Allie Albarigo, SchoolOwnerTalk.com. Allie, great to be with you today, sir.
Great to be with you as well, Dwayne. That's awesome. Like, what is this, 270, our episode?
65, 66, something like that.
Crazy. It's just like amazing. Like, I know we spoke about this the other day. I said that someone I was talking to said to me, I've never seen a podcast that has lasted this long with so much good material. And they said it's like literally a plethora of information that they go to whenever they have a topic question.
Yeah, and you know, I think the biggest reason is we're not in the podcast business to make this a business. You know, we both started this. I gave you a holler. I said, hey, I want to do a podcast. You want to do it with me? I just want to give back to the martial arts industry. And have we hit every single week? No. I mean, we've been doing this for, I think, 5 years now, and or close to it. And you know, we haven't done it every week, but we've done enough episodes that there is, like you said, a plethora of information free out there. You know, the problem with free information that I found is when it's free, people don't usually use it very, very much. And that's why true. Even some of the big gurus talk about, you know, you can put your best material out there for free. And then when they go, wow, this is life-changing, they don't know how to apply it because they won't actually read between the lines. And so therefore you gotta, and I've done that too. And I still do it. You know, every once in a while I do some just-in-time learning and I go, okay, that's my guy or that's my gal. And I hire that person, you know?
Yeah.
In fact,
well,
that's our who.
Yeah, that's funny. I was just going to say that leads right into this new topic that we're going to be doing on a monthly basis, where which is giving me a lot of pressure because I love to read, but I read lately. I've been reading fictional books and historical books, you know, like by Bill O'Reilly, you know, killing Reagan and killing the, you know, Rising Sun and Kennedy, and a lot of really interesting, cool books that are his books are amazing.
Killing the Rising Sun is phenomenal. Not that the other ones aren't good. Oh yeah, Killing the Rising Sun was phenomenal. And you know, what's the newest one? Killing Little Big Chief. No, it's has to do with the. I can't think of the name right now. But anyways, it's about the Wild Wild West. It's not Little Bighorn. Who is it? Why can't I think of the American Native or Indian that, you know?
It's killing. Oh, it's so many killing. There's a lot of killing. He's killing everything. You know, he's like killing. But anyway, Great American Wealth Project. He just did the Killing series. Let's just see. I don't know. I'm trying to find it. He must have did 25 of them. Killing the Mob, Killing Crazy Horse. Well, that's it.
That's it. Killing Crazy Horse. So Killing the Mob doesn't come out until next year. I'm going to get that one too. But Killing Crazy Horse, I haven't finished it yet, but it's good. It's very good.
That's cool. But so our topic was every month we'll take a book and we'll read something, and then if we find it worthwhile or worthy of sharing, but we'll share it with our readers to extract some of the info, maybe get them to purchase the book and read it themselves. But so you sent me this book for Christmas, which I super highly appreciate your gifts, and I got mine as well, like who not how right there. And then I've been reading on my iPhone and iPad. So my iPad is sometimes it's an older one, so I can't update my book. So I started just downloading straight to my iPhone. And at night I could read in the dark with, you know, when my fiance's asleep and I don't have to bother her. But anyway, so I've been reading it on there, and it's a really great book. So I'm really appreciative that you bought it for me. And so every month we'll be doing this. So you just get started right away and talk about the concepts and how we could turn it into something?
Yeah, first off, I just want to kind of give a little bit of quick background. The two writers of this book, the primary writer really is Benjamin Hardy. And he's a psychologist and a best-selling author. And I've read one of his other books called Willpower Doesn't Work. Very, very good, very, very good book. But, you know, anyways, so he wrote the book for Dan Sullivan, who is the co-author.
Right.
Dan Sullivan is the and I'm just going to read his bio here, but he's the world's most foremost expert on entrepreneurship and has coached more successful entrepreneurs than anyone on the planet. He is the co-founder of Strategic Coach, and that's at strategiccoach.com, the leading entrepreneur coach program in the world. He's the author of more than 50 publications on entrepreneurial success, and over the past 30 years, Strategic Coach has provided teachings and trainings to more than 200,000 entrepreneurs. Again, strategiccoach.com. And if you want to find more information on Benjamin Hardy, you can go to benjaminhardy.com. But the concept of the book says who, not how, a formula to achieve bigger goals through accelerating teamwork. Accelerating teamwork. So the whole concept of the book, and I'll give my concept of the book in a couple sentences, and then if you would give yours, because you might have a different paradigm or paradigm, as you call it. But
we should maybe tell people that joke, because we often say paradigm and then we laugh, but people probably think that we're stupid.
Go ahead.
I'll admit that when I was younger, in my 20s, my daughter's mom and I were chatting at breakfast, and I'm reading a book because I was addicted to like pumping out 40 books a year. Like, we're kind of going to reinvigorate that now. And I said to her, I can't believe I love this book. The guy's talking about how he changed his paradigm. And I really enjoy that concept of, you could just change it like that, your whole paradigm. And she's like, puts this peculiar look on her face. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, the paradigm. She's like, I've never heard of that. And I'm like, oh, you're so, stupid. I can't believe it. Like, I didn't say that, but I'm like, I can't believe it. So I take the book out and I show her the words. She's like, a paradigm? That's how you pronounce it. And I'm stupid, she says, like, kind of like that thing. So that day was a shift in my paradigm right there, because I'm like thinking that I'm the smart one, realizing that I'm sounding like an idiot while talking about it. So that's why we always say paradigm and paradigm, right? So that's just so the listeners get a chance to understand the history and context of that. So,
that was a funny story. So the concept, the overall concept of who, not how, is basically, Dan Sullivan is talking about the fact that we generally ask ourselves the wrong question. How should we do this? How can this get done? And we're not at fault for thinking that question, because that's how our educational system is taught us to think. So collaboration, teamwork is not generally promoted in traditional school. You have to learn the material yourself, and then you have to be able to perform the material yourself, which is opposite of the business world. The business world, nothing gets done without collaboration. You are not an island, right? I mean, you can be a peninsula, but you're really not an island. And so the concept is that you ask yourself the wrong question when you ask, how can this get done, or how should this get done? The proper question should be, who can get this done? And I love, well, I guess we can get into why I love that, but I love that concept of who. Ask yourself the question, who should get this done, as opposed to how this should get done. So that's a brief overview. I'm summarizing it, maybe a rough summary, but what do you say about that?
I have a lot to say, obviously, because that's who I am, right? That's all I do. No, but here's the thing that I found, so two things happen. One, like my life, I'm trying to simplify my life. So when people hear that, they say, oh, you're not doing as much, you're going to sell off businesses, sell off real estate, do less. And that's not at all what I'm talking about. When I say simplify my life, I don't want to be juggling 27 balls at once, and 22 of the balls do nothing for me other than add flash and color, right? So I'm trying to look at what I'm doing this year, 2021 and 2020, especially during COVID, for me was to streamline the things that work good for me, and the things that are making me the most money, where I'm putting my time and effort into, right? So now when I talked about this book to a few of my clients there, I think the biggest problem, Dwayne, is not who, not how. It's letting go of doing it yourself and thinking that you're the who and the how. and then learning to delegate. Like my partner in my website business, she's one person that does everything. Like she only wants to learn how to do the software. Hard to get her to teach me to do it, and she runs it all herself. So she's bogged down because there's only so many hours in the day, right? So that delegation process a lot of times is such a hard thing for people to do, because they've never done it before. They don't know how to do it. They don't know who to do it with. So the question that they have to ask themselves, which the book says, is like, who could be your who? Like, how do you find a who? Like, how do you let go of you being the who, like the person that does it all, right? And now I'm starting to sound like what I got annoyed about in the book in the first 2 chapters was it sounded like a Dr. Seuss book. Who, not how not who, who's the who, who's the how. Like it was something that drove me absolutely nuts at first. And then finally we got into the nuts and bolts. But I think that's the biggest issue, right? Letting go and simplifying, like easy. You don't have to hire employees, right? You don't have to hire people. You could subcontract. You could find them and just use them for that particular task, whether it be designing a flyer or whatever. So anyway, I'll let you continue, but that was my take on that part of it.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the concept of who, not how, and how I like. All right. So we have an amazing software, right? Spark Membership,
right.
One of our sponsors for our podcast. And look, we wouldn't even allow them to be, and I say allow because that's also one of the concepts in the book is, always be the buyer. But we wouldn't even allow them to have been a sponsor if we really truly didn't believe in the product that they had have. Okay, so that's one of my who's is that software, all of the amazing things that it can do. And so especially during COVID, the pivoting that they did, allowing us to be able to do online, Zoom classes through, all the software intricacies was just phenomenal. I had this conversation with you, I think last year, and we might even put it on a podcast where I said, look, I don't need a front end person. I mean, that software is so phenomenal. I can get on and I can follow up with people and yada, yada, yada. And I thought that was a good idea. And even before I read this book, I was starting to get, because things were picking back up, I was starting to get overwhelmed with all of my tasks that really, maybe 20% of them only I can do.
Right.
And 80% of those I need to find who's for. And so I am going to, and I'm in the process of filling it out, but this is a concept that's in the book called the impact filter. And the impact filter, which is really neat. I did an impact filter on controlling my time and my schedule. So I don't know if you can kind of see the impact filter here that I filled out. And the concept of the impact filter is to define what the goal, the project is and the focus of the project, the purpose of it, the importance of it, and the ideal outcome. But then also you got to sell yourself on it. What's the best results and what's the worst results? So the best results would be, if I implement this, what are the best results? And then if I don't implement it, right, what are the worst results? And then the success criteria that need to happen in order for this to be successful. So in doing this, I found out, and I kind of knew it anyways, but I found out that I need a program director. I need a front end manager. I need somebody that is going to follow up with these individuals. And so I'm in the process of actually filling out an impact filter of what that person, that program, that goal needs to look like. So then from there, I will have a clearly defined statement or statements to know who I need to hire in that position. And I will show them this impact filter. Like they have to say, yeah, I agree with all of that. That I'm on board with that. That is exactly what I'm looking for, so that I hire the right person first and foremost. And I'm going to look. I've never done this in the past. I've never paid premium dollar to have somebody in that position. I'm going to pay premium dollar to have somebody in that position, because that is going to free up, another concept from the book, that is going to free up more of my time. And when I have more of my time, then I'll be able to make more money for the company, even though I'll be doing less. And that kind of goes back to what you talked about doing less. Simplifying, doing less actually earns me more money in the end.
Right.
And then there's a whole bunch of other concepts that are inside of the book that, and theories that are inside of the book, and projects inside of the book that will allow you to kind of set those things up for yourself. But I just go, you know what? I'm going to hire somebody to do that. I'm going to hire somebody to clean my house. I'm going to have somebody clean my house. You know, that and I want it done on a certain day. That person's got to be here, certain day. It's got to be completed. For me, it's got to be on Fridays. I want it done on Fridays. Fridays, I'm not at my computer all the time like I am here. You know, so this is going to be room number one that's going to be done, and then the rest of the house can be done, and then I can move back in and you know, like I know what I want now. I filled an impact filter out, even with that, and I know what that's going to, you know, cost me, but it's not a cost. And that's the other concept inside the book, is every time you hire a who, you need to look at them as an investment. Right. Yeah. And you need to treat them as an investment, because they're actually making you money by not doing those projects and hiring the right person to get into that headspace and to do it. I have more time to do other things that are a higher level income than, you know, look, cleaning the house is important, but that's not the job that I should be doing. It isn't. Yeah.
And by the way, so to add to what you had just said, by the way, I want people who are listening, not to think like, well, okay, Dwayne, you have the money, your school's so successful, you could hire someone. That's sometimes people can't do that. Like I have a lot of clients that I work with that are in a startup phase that they can't afford to pay someone. But the concept is that if you can pay someone, you'll probably free up your time and grow 10 times, 20 times, 30 times faster.
But sometimes you have to make that leap, right? I remember the first time I hired a front desk person, I didn't think that I could afford that person. And that person made me more money, right? They made the company more money.
Right.
They can follow up on everybody, right?
Yeah. One thing I could add to this though, too, is so in fact, our lead Hunter Media, our Facebook marketing guy's on here with us by the name of Gus Lopez. Gus, good to see you, and thanks for joining in. But Gus and I were just having a discussion the other day, and I was saying that just because, let's just say you have a list of 10 things to do, and every week you only get around to 7 of them, and you can't get the other 3 done. And I just had another call with one of my other coaching clients this morning, and I'm saying, well, you have all these black belts helping you and teaching for you. You have a program manager at your front desk. Why are you doing all these mundane things that are not necessary? So what you need to do first is maybe make, like from my book, the 5 Gateways to Happiness, get a list of all the I hate things that you can't stand doing that make your life miserable. Like you mentioned cleaning. We've talked about this concept about cleaning. You've done this before, Dwayne, in the past, and said, hey, I have a cleaning lady. And it's true. If that's something that you absolutely despise, or it's not one of the things that you enjoy, and it takes up a good amount of your time, why not just hire someone and take that, even if you wanted to take those 4 hours to just sit and stare into the sky, it's your right to do so, because you're relieving yourself of a task that kind of brings you down. Does that make sense? That task brings you down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look. This is one of the quotes, the lady or guy, I don't know, Casey, and I don't know what the last name is. It's Neistat. But anyways, their quote says, what's the ultimate qualification of success? For me, it's not how much time I spend doing what I love. It's how much little time I spend doing what I hate.
Oh, that's perfect. So like, for example, right? Talking to my client this morning, I'm like, what are the things that bog you down? What are the things that make your brain feel, like when you feel like, you're just tired, because it's not a task that you go into, like working out in the gym. Some people absolutely despise it and hate it, and other people really get invigorated by the feeling and the pump and the exercise. So it really all depends on your mindset. You have to find those things in your life that you absolutely don't like, and either find someone that you could hire on a regular basis to do it, or go to a company like guru.com or, Fiverr or whatever, Indeed, and find a part-time mom or dad that's out of work or has children that lives in Idaho that wants to do your bookkeeping at night. You have someone, right, Dwayne? Don't you have somebody that you work with that does all your accounting and bookkeeping, and you throw them the info, they file it in the full files that you have set out, and then you then slide those files over to your accountant. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to be There's no headache to you.
Well,
so you're learning to delegate, right?
Yeah. So look, I use QuickBooks for everything. My bookkeeper is in Indiana. I'm in Illinois. My when all of the quarantine happened and the opportunity to go in and do the PPP and all that stuff, all I did was got on the phone and I said, hey, this is what I need. Can you put it together for me? Boom, she did. The second round of PPP, same thing. I said, hey, this is what we need. Can you put it together for me? Boom, she did.
Yeah.
She would get it done a lot quicker than me trying to figure it out. And I would hate it. I would hate it the whole time trying to figure it out. And she charges me $30 an hour. That's how much I pay her, is $30 an hour. It probably took her 5 minutes to put some of those or all those, or 10 minutes, whatever, to put those reports together and get them over to me. It would probably have taken me an hour to try to figure it out. Right. It's stupid for me to be inside of there doing that stuff when I'm not an expert in that area. I just called, I'm switching over to a new guy with my IRA and my retirement and everything like that. And I spent, 45 minutes on the phone with him. And he said, oh yeah, we're going to take care of this. We're going to take care of this. I said, great. Now, how many times are we going to be in contact with each other? And he goes, if you don't call me, I'll call you at least once a year. But otherwise, you call me but if you call me, we'll call you back the same day. If not the next day, but in most cases, we'll call you back the same day. And I said, great, because I need you as a part of my team. And I need you then to be in communication with these other parts of teams. And I want you to have, like I said, look, don't call me if it requires a bookkeeper. I want you to just send that information to her. Here's her contact information. And I'll let her know this is who has, access to me, and give them what they need. And so I don't want to mess around with any of that stuff. I'm setting up teams. That's another thing that the book talks about, is I'm setting up teams for my success.
I love it. I think that's interesting, and what I love is that initially early on in the book, it talks about the shift of mindset, how to start changing the mindset of, I'm the baker, and I'm the chef, and I'm the recipe maker, and I'm the salesperson, and I'm the counter person. And it says, okay, well, trying to clarify, so let's give an example for a school owner. There are certain tasks that you probably do that maybe are just mindless tasks, and you do it for the sake of them being mindless tasks. I know a lot of my clients will clean and they'll listen to our podcast. So while they're listening to our podcast, they're cleaning. It's podcast time for them, but they're also getting the cleaning done. Right. But, they could look at those things.
Even in that, they're not focusing in on what's being taught or listened to on the podcast where they can take notes. I get it that they're multitasking and they think that they're learning something. And, look, they're probably listening to this one now and be pissed off at me for saying this. But if there is good information on this podcast, they're not going to remember it because they're not sitting down and taking notes on the information that's being taught.
That's kind of funny. That's where I was actually leading down, so that you and I think alike. So I'm saying, so they're doing these things because they're doing an activity while they're doing another activity, thinking that they're managing their time properly. When in fact, like for example, listening to a podcast and studying material, or doing an online course while cleaning your home. And then, you're really not paying attention. And my daughter and I, we're terrible at this. We've been talking a lot about this. We've been binge watching for the last 5-6 weeks, a TV show that we watched when she was a baby called Grimm. It's an amazing show about like the brothers Grimm and all this cool stuff. But we find ourselves like on our phones surfing, Facebook and other things while we're watching the show. And I'm like, Kiara, why are we doing this? Let's just put the stupid phone down and be 100% focused. And oh my God, the show is that much better. Like, imagine that I'm actually watching the show and I'm seeing what's on the screen and the facial expressions and the movements and the energy. So it's about single-minded, singularly focused activity so that you could get out 100% rather than 20%, right? So that's what I loved about the book, about really taking that time, finding the who to do the task, and you training that who to be really good at the task, and using that impact filter that you showed so that they're clear. And then the guy, like there's a few good stories in the book about people who did that, and they hired an assistant, and that the guy was doing podcasts. I think it's the actual guy who wrote the book. He was doing podcasts, and he was booking his podcast throughout the week. And then he hired someone to book the podcast. And now they're so good at it that they have him booked up every single week, 3, 4, 5 podcasts a week to promote his books and promote his program and so on. So they're doing it like 100 times better than he ever did it. And he's not bogged down because now he's fresh. He just looks at his calendar and goes, okay, I'm calling into WRCN radio and boom, pulling up the pod and doing the podcast. He's not worried about how to do it, where to do it, scheduling it, and burnt out, and then going on the podcast tired and exhausted, right? So there is some real significance to being able to have and delegate. Again, doesn't have to be a full-time employee, but learning. And you have probably tons of people that you're surrounded with that could become part of your team.
Absolutely. And, I love one of the things that he talks about, and he's talked about this, meaning Dan Sullivan, talked about having a self-managing company, and about free days. And he takes 100 and some odd free days a year.
Okay, good.
And I liken our free days to when we close. So I take, about 6 weeks off, almost 7 weeks off per year. Right. So that's not quite 2 months, but I'm a month and 3/4 of free days, but they're not totally free because I don't have a program director or assistant or whatever. I am still, when the text messages come through, when we're off, I'm taking care of that, so I'm not truly on a free day yet. Right. That's why I need my who to take care of that, so I can actually have free days. So I like that concept of the free days. And I was trying to look at, I know I wrote it down. Let's see. Basically, time. Okay, yeah. So time creates money, and so when you don't create time, you can't create money. And so if you want an increase, the concept is if you want an increase, then you need to create time so that you can create money during that increase. And so that means that, again, I think I said at the beginning of the podcast, there's probably 80% out of 100% that I'm doing. There's 80% that I could actually get rid of, meaning somebody else could actually do that 80%. And most likely they can probably do it better than me. And there's 20% that only I can do. The 20% that only I can do is, nobody else can be on this podcast with me besides you. I mean, I can't be replaced in this podcast. Now, is there maybe somebody better that you can have as a co-host? Maybe so. But what I'm saying is that I can't be replaced for my own podcast. Right. With my health coaching, I can't be replaced on my calls with them when I'm coaching them. I can't be replaced. There's supplemental things that happen, where I do send texts and emails and I'm trying to pull it up here. The life book that they get and the habits of health book that they get, those type of things are supplemental, but my advice and my conversation to them cannot be replaced. So there's about 20% in my activities that I have to do, but the other 80% I can get rid of and delegate. And then by doing that, I can dial down onto what, Dan Sullivan calls my unique abilities. We all have our unique abilities. We have our strengths, and we actually we actually perform better in our strengths, and we are actually rejuvenated when we are doing the things that strengthen us.
Right.
Right.
Well, I'll give you.
That's why I have to get rid of that stuff. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's absolutely true. And I was going to say, like, that's where sometimes an owner needs to ask the question and say, okay, what are the things that I don't enjoy doing, and this is even a better question. Who could I find that's better than me at that task so that I could then assign it to someone else and get a better result? So I'll give you an example. Like, a lot of clients that I work with that they don't like social media posting. And everyone says you got to post on social media. You know, it's an important thing. 2-3 times a week, putting up videos or pictures or comments or asking questions to get engagement or educating your clientele. But they despise social media so that they don't get on it. So what happens? They don't do the posts. And then they say, I should have done it. I have brand new clients that are young couple, and they're having a hard time posting. So like Gus Lopez, who's with us right now, for that specific reason, he started a business, a leg to his business, that he gives content and he gives it to the client. So all they have to do is take it, copy it, and post it. The owner doesn't have to think of it on their own. They don't have to do it on their own. So anyway, I have a client that's working with Gus, and I said to them, well, when do you post? And he said, I post on these days. I'm like, well, why don't you just give that to your program manager? Well, I tweak the articles a little. I said, okay, so tweak the articles way in advance, do 6 or 7 in advance, pop it into a Dropbox folder, and then allow your program manager to copy and schedule the posts so that in the beginning of the week, they put out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then they could be 2-3 weeks ahead of the game. And you're relieving yourself of all that stress. All you're going to do is go to the page and make sure it's done. And if you know that you could trust the person and you see them, then they're going to get it done for you on a regular basis. So I think that that's such an important thing. But a lot of it has to do with trusting and building a team. And that's what you were talking about with finding the team, a team member that's better at it than you or does it as well as you, so that you can feel comfortable with them.
Yeah, and here's the neat thing. You know, he talks about getting clear on your vision, obviously using the impact filter to do that. And what is expected for that role, that person, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. And then, you know, he goes on to say, and this is a direct quote from the book, you know, it's actually impossible to not attract incredible who's once your vision is defined and expressed.
Right.
And, you know, I've kind of found that to be pretty true. And without even knowing this concept, I think I've done it on and off for years. So back in the day, you know, I had a team of instructors. They're a pretty tight group. And that's when we started our XMA program. And it was right before they became instructors, you know, and then moving into the XMA program, they became instructors for me. And,
okay.
You know, so what did that mean? I needed to learn how to do the commas. I need to learn how to do the bow staff. I need to learn how to do the sword, you know, and honestly, weapons don't interest me, but I know that we need to do them because they interest other people. And so what I did was I had one kid that he really liked the bow staff. And I'm like, all right, listen, I'm gonna, you know, we're gonna go over the videos. I'm gonna show you the videos in XMA and yada, yada, yada. And you're gonna be my bow staff guy. Like, anybody that wants to learn the bow staff, you're the one. I had another one with commas, and I had another one, and luckily all 3 of them like different things. So one was commas, one was bow staff, and the other one was sword. And so those were my who's. I didn't have to figure out how, because the program was already written. I said, all right, this is yours, learn it, and you're going to teach it. And they're like, well, how do I teach? I said, just follow what Mike Chat is saying to do. And if there's anything in there that you don't understand and you need to make it up, then just make it up.
Right.
Like, wow. You know, and it was a success. And so not only was it a success with regards to being able to, you know, duplicate myself, which I didn't really duplicate because I didn't know the material anyways, you know, but then each of them had their own uniqueness in my system, and that gave them real confidence in their capabilities and just made them even a better employee and a better instructor.
Yeah. And by the way, it endears them or locks them into your school and your business, because it's not like they feel like they're just a cog in the wheel of getting the function done. They feel like they are the wheel. They're important. They're making decisions. And quite often, I have to be honest, I have to catch myself at times, because my top guy who runs the school for me and with me, it's just he and I that are, doing mostly every teaching and other than assistants. But and then sometimes I'm like, no, it should have been done this way. And then I have to catch myself and say, no, yours is good. Maybe if we tweak it just a slight bit, it'll be perfect. But can you do it this way or that way a little bit more? But I find myself wanting to micromanage. And that's another thing in the book that I got out of it, is not micromanaging my team. So like my daughter, I found myself doing this. It was the weirdest thing. And I had her doing we have this huge stock room with belts and uniforms and weapons and all this stuff. So I said, hey, can you organize this room so that you know where everything is and it's labeled properly? So she's like, okay, Dad. And she went in there and she's like, she's got a smock on, she's getting dirty. And I'm coming in going, hey, I'd rather have that on that shelf. And can you move this to that? Wouldn't it make more sense? And then I'm like, I literally out loud, I said, no, I'm not going to micromanage you. I'm sorry, I'm going outside. And I leave the room, but then I find myself drifting back in. Hey, how you doing, kiddo? Are you sure you want that? And I'm like, no, I had to remind myself again. So it's hard to let go of that control and let someone really take over, even though they're doing an outstanding job. As owners, as martial artists especially, we're control freaks. We know, like, we want to always control the outcome or preemptively control what's happening, right? That's what self-defense is, knowing when someone's going to throw a punch, what do we do? Knowing if they flex, what we do, that kind of thing.
But wouldn't you rather have collaboration? Meaning, if something was going to happen to you on the street, wouldn't it be nice to have both of us there?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Without a doubt. A better team.
Right. And then why don't we take that concept into our business and into our life? Because of what you said, we are egomaniacs, or we're control freaks, or this is my baby and nobody does it as well as me. 2 nights ago, I told my head instructor, Mr. Bean, I said, look, I just want you to know that I really appreciate the lesson plans that you have written.
Yeah. And
they are far better in a way, better lesson plans than I ever put together.
Mm-hmm.
I really love how you have made sure that all the material is going to be covered in that 3-month period, and you have enough time to repurpose that material so that they have time to, have repetition on it. And I said, after teaching these last 3 months, or almost these last 3 months, I said, I've come to realize how important those are. Yeah. So thank you.
And it's kind of funny. And you may not think how important that really is, because it's just, you're telling them how you feel, but it's so beyond impactful to that person receiving it if they have pride in what they do. Like I wrote on a little whiteboard in our private office. I wrote, Wrenchy Ryan, you're doing an amazing job. I did that about 2 months ago. It's still on the whiteboard. He's not taking it down. He hasn't gone, and wiped it off. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, I think though, that my head instructor probably thought to himself, it's about time.
Yeah.
You get on board with me.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't mean that. Yeah. And I don't mean he's saying that in a snotty way. I think he's just like, I've been waiting for you. Like, he doesn't need the praise. I don't think, everybody likes praise, but I think he's to the point where he's like, all right, finally, thanks for getting on board, Mr. Brummett.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's right.
I guess
he's
so.
Right.
It's true. So listen, so then, I know we run out of time real quickly. So some of the other chapters, what do you think? Like, what else would you like? There's some really good things that I enjoyed. And, I'm reading through the different chapter headings, but one of them that I found impactful was committing to specific results. And I thought that was very telling, because sometimes we throw things across the table. I tell my guy, hey, I want you to do this. And then I leave. And I hope that it's done. I used to do this a lot where I I come up with these awesome ideas, $1 million ideas, and I lay them out and I give them a format and I'd hand them to a staff member and I'd say, hey, listen, I'll share in the profits if you do well with this. And then I'd leave it in their hands and nothing would ever come about it. I'm going like, what is wrong with people? They could make $1 million if they would just run with this idea. But it's not their idea. It's not their baby. It was just another thing for them to do in their list of tasks that they would do. They didn't buy into it. So I like that concept of, finding what people have a passion about and, having it and so on. So what did you think about that? Committing to those specific results. That's like chapter 5.
Yeah. And it's inspecting what you're expecting, but it goes back to what you said, making sure that you have the right person for the right job. All of us have to do some jobs in our life that we don't enjoy to a certain degree. The goal though, I think is finding the right person for each job. And so then that person is enjoying their job on a day-to-day basis and not, so if you can get it where 90% of their job they absolutely love and only 10% that they go, ugh, or even 5% they're like, ugh, and then the other 5 that they hate, it's much better than the other way around, if that kind of makes sense.
It totally does. And I think that's what we call the buy-in, right? Where if you were to say, like, let's say you had an instructor and he enjoyed teaching classes already, and you said, hey, I'd like for you to teach these students how to teach classes because you're such an expert at it. Would you share your ability? They'd be very, very happy to do so because it's praise for them to share and they enjoy it, right? So that's where you said it's finding the right person for the job. And then if you lay it out and say, when you do the course, I want you to teach this, and this, everything else, but put it together however you feel. But I want you to cover these topics. Can you show me a lesson plan ahead of time, or we'll review it or whatever? I'm sure that they'd be very, very happy to do that. And then that way it gives them the praise, and they'll be much more, I want to say, committed to their job because they love what they do.
Well, and here's the other thing. He talks about the Pygmalion effect, right? And so, and I just wrote it down. People are either rising or falling to the expectations of those around us. So when demands are high, we show up, and when they're low, we settle. And so, the concept is we need to be clear on what we're expecting that individual to do. And then we need to hold them to it, because if we don't, then they're going to show up in a way that, he's never going to know, or he doesn't follow up, that type of thing. And so I think that is, important. But then the other thing is that means for me, I need to surround myself with high achievers. I need to surround myself with people that hold themselves accountable, right? That demand. You saw my post on our site that David Nemeroth had put on there, and I put on there, I need to hold myself to a higher demand.
Yeah, higher standard of demand.
Yeah, that part of that is surrounding myself with high achievers. If I just surround myself with people that make me comfortable, then I'm going to do comfortable things, and I'm not going to grow. Yeah. And I need to also make sure that my my team has that as well, where I'm not comfortable. I demand this from them and expect them to give me this, and if they don't, then they either need to be coached because they don't understand it, or they need to be reprimanded. And that's as simple as that. And in both aspects, I'm doing it for their betterment, right? I'm coaching them because I can see that they can be better, or I'm reprimanding them because I can see that they can be better. Both are positives, even though one looks like it's a negative.
Right. And hey, listen, I love the fact too that it talked about another great section of this book talked about the networking and having a network of people, and realizing that the question to ask wasn't like, what's in it for me? What will I get out of networking with Dwayne? It was what's in it for them. And I love that concept. In fact, I'm going to make a quote and put it up on my pages for my school. I'm going to write that out to the students. So like, what's in it for, what would you like more of? What could I do more for you to make our service better for you? And I'm not saying, more classes or doing, making it cheaper. I'm like, how can I, as an owner, as the head instructor, commit to my students to the point where I could educate them better, give them more lessons, whatever the case may be. When you ask that question, what can I do for you? It certainly without a doubt helps. You have a better network of people because now you're giving, you're not taking, right? And then he said in the book that helped him meet Richard Branson, who owns Virgin Atlantic Airlines and Virgin Gyms and all this other stuff, multi-millionaire in England. And he ended up going to a seminar with him, paying $25,000, I think, for the dinner ticket or raising money, I forget what it was, and going to the dinner and then offering him all these ideas where Richard Branson at the end of the day said, here's my personal email. I'd love for you to write up an idea on how I could do this better for my charity. And then now he's like the biggest fundraiser for Richard Branson's charity, and he's networked with some billionaires, and it's helped him like grow his business by 100 times or whatever it was. So
Yes.
who surrounds us that are not our maybe staff members, but maybe parents of the dojo, students who their families are, I don't know if I made quick, I'll tell you this story. Like when I was an aspiring actor, I was going on auditions and all this kind of stuff. And I mentioned it in class, never mentioned it in class before. I mentioned it in class and one of my students goes, you want to act? I'm like, yeah, I'd love to act. He's like, I am the casting director for Guiding Light, the soap opera. He goes, you want to be on it? I'm like, what do you mean, like auditioning? No. Do you want to be on the soap opera? And I'm like, yes. He's like, okay, you're in. Come down this Wednesday. I have the scene for you. And then I did like 4 episodes of the show, not acting. And I even, even did a part with a very famous actor where him and I spent time together. I forget his name, but he's hugely famous. And him and I sat in the dressing room together, chatting and hanging out. And so all I did was mention it, right? And then boom, there it was. So like, you never know who's surrounding you that could be a part of your team, right? A marketing expert, an accountant, whatever, a carpenter. So yeah. I think that was an important thing about sharing and helping others.
Absolutely. The other thing I liked too was he wrote here that decision fatigue is real.
Yes.
Decision fatigue is real. And so by
explain that
more, yeah. So if you are the who for your business all the time, and you have to figure out how this has to get done, how this needs to be implemented, how whatever. There's so many decisions that can fatigue you. And when you have too many decisions that fatigue you, it's almost paralyzing sometimes. And we all have done that.
Yeah.
And so when he says that decision fatigue is real, one, that quote is true. But then second to that is when you start to put who's on your team, they make those decisions. And so therefore it doesn't fatigue you. And that allows you then to, again, have more time to think about the things that are going to move your business even more forward, because you don't have the decision fatigue that you would have had you not found the right who to take care of those situations for you.
Yeah. So when we have, fatigue to make decisions, or the aftermath of not making decisions because you're exhausted and you can't get to those things, what happens? We end up putting those tasks off. And by the way, it most likely is always the task that you like the least, because when we do goal setting and things to do, like a list the day before, we write all the things we need to do. And unless we prioritize, and this is a Stephen Covey, Franklin Covey system, and you don't take your list and say A1, A2, A3, B1, 2, 3, C1, 2, 3, D1, 2, 3, and you say, I'm going to do my A's first, because those are the most important things that I'm going to do that are going to make me move my business forward. But we end up getting to the easy things like, shuffling papers and shredding documents and things that are mindless and that don't take any effort, and they're easy. So we have to learn to do that. But when you have fatigue, right, now you could delegate. Maybe you could delegate that to a staff member who would do it for you. And now you get it done and you move forward, right? It's important.
Yeah, and the other thing too is they were talking about the self-determination theory, and this is the 3 things that your employees want. People that are on your team want. They want a sense, and so these are the 3: a sense of competency. They want autonomy on how to do their work. They want the freedom to be able to do it the way they want to do it in order to get it done. And then 3, positive and meaningful relationships. That's what they're looking for, all 3 of those things. And so if we can find team members that, 1, we're clear about whatever the expectations are, whatever that goal is, or whatever that position is. And then 2, that give them a sense of competency, train them if they need to be trained, right? Or make sure they already have the training, in that area, and then give them the autonomy to get it done. And then a positive and meaningful relationship throughout. Those are the things, right? And then regular feedback. They need regular feedback.
I think it might be hard though for us, because I hear that and going giving them the autonomy to just do it their way, and so that there has to be a certain parameter of guidelines. So that goes back to that impact filter, right back in where you say, "This is what I expect."
Yeah, but if you're clear on it, you're going to hire the right person, and so they're going to respond in. Now, they may need to respond a little bit more like I respond,
right?
But once they do it more and more and more, they're going to be a lot better at it than I am.
Yeah, and then I think the 2 will mold and meld together, right? So that, for example, I have my way, they have their way. Let's say we're on 2 opposite sides of the spectrum, but we both voice our opinions. But I say I want it to be more in the middle, and I'd be satisfied. And that person learns to work with me and still have it their way, but still work within the middle where I'm satisfied and we're all happy. That's where we have to find that happy medium where we're able to just say, okay, this is fine. It's up to my standards, and I'm satisfied with it, right?
Yeah, but the other thing is, we're like, oh, we want everybody to think they're talking to Mr. Brummett when it's via text and via email and then on the phone,
right.
Right. And so I am the personality of the whole business. Well, then I'm the who, or excuse me, I'm the how. And so in every single thing, I have to be the how. I need to have a self-managing company. It needs to be set up with parameters and protocols, yes, with automations and those type of things. But
right.
I really think that the program director that I'm going to hire, I want those people then to know that they're talking to him or her. I want them to go, oh, wow, Sally Sally loves my kid because he's been sick for a week and we haven't been there, and she's followed up twice now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't have to be, oh, Mr. Brummett cares so much. It's that TriStar Martial Arts Academy cares so much. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I like that you brought that up too, because I do that often. Sometimes people are sick of hearing from Sheehan Alley all the time. So I'll have sometimes I'll ask my guy Ryan. I'll say, is it okay if I send out a message from you? Like in one of my automations, I have a series on a seminar that I'm doing right now. And by the way, this is why I love Spark so much. I set up an automation for a Nawa Manriki, which I believe I taught at your school, the roped weapon and so on. Yep. I think I might have. And anyway, long story short, I sent out 3 or 4 texts, but the next one that's scheduled to go out is an email and a text from Renchi Ryan, my guy. And he's like, hey, did you guys see those texts from Sheehan? I wrote it, but it's from him. And he approved it and added little things to it. And it kind of comes from a different voice because he's saying, are you going to go to Sheehan's seminar? I'm going to be there. I want you to be there with me. That kind of thing, so that it comes from a different voice. So it's important to have that staff member a part of, and being a part of and having the autonomy, like you said, to be able to do it on their own.
We only have a little time left. Here's the other concept I wanted to quickly bring up is always be the buyer. I know I mentioned it before, but always be the buyer. And I even thought about this, and I think I'm going to do it, is the concept about always being the buyer is that when somebody is, selling you something, then you're the buyer. But if somebody is trying to sell you something and you're I always want to be in control of it. I'm not saying it correctly. I always want to be in control of it. So here's how I'm going to apply it in the martial arts realm is I'm going to redo one of my videos, and because I have a 6-video series that they get, when they're on the trial. But I'm going to redo one of them and just say, hey, look, something like, in as much as you're interviewing us to make sure that we're the right studio for you, I just want you to know that it's reciprocal. Obviously, we're interviewing you guys to make sure that you are the right student for us, making sure that you will follow our policy and procedures, that we are on the same page, that we do love your kid, but we like to have fun, but we don't mess around. And so we are going to train your kid this way, and that type of thing. And so it switches it from them being the buyer to us being the buyer. We want to then decide, okay, are we going to buy you as a student as opposed to you buying us, right? We need to switch that mentality, and that's how I'm going to do that. Or one of the ways that I'm going to do that is I'm going to become the buyer, and I'm going to sift and sort through the individuals and kind of, set them up psychologically that, all right, well, we're looking to buy you, and we'll see if you're a right fit.
Yeah, and that's true though. Like I've had that with people that say, when I say my program, which is a 3-month program, and I say, listen, this is the Fall in Love program. I said, I want you to love what we do so much that you fall in love with it and you join. But we also want to fall in love with you as a family, to know that you're the right fit for our school. And I've had some people that, minor things that I could just see that triggered memories of how people act in the past that have been bad clients. Like, never downloading the app when I've asked them like 7 times, and always calling me and asking me to set up the classes, and, not signing the agreement. Like I have a new client that's an old student coming back. It's been like 6 days of me every day saying, did you sign the agreement yet? And the kids come into class already. Have you signed the agreement? Today I said, listen, if you're going to keep coming to class, you need to sign the agreement. Oh, okay. Send it to my husband at this email. I have 5 times already. So either have them look in his spam folder or sign it, or don't bring her back to class. Like, I don't want the aggravation. I could just tell the habits, and this is how they were before when they trained with me. Did you do this? Did you do that? So you learn those things way ahead of time. So anyway, by the way, it's almost time, Dwayne. We've covered it. The book, is really, let me get it in camera, is really a good book, and I appreciate you sending it to me. The one last thing I wanted to say, you said it in the beginning, the guy who wrote the book, it says, by Dan Sullivan, founder of Strategic Coach. Dan Sullivan is the guy who found the WHO, and the WHO was this guy, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, to write the book. So he literally didn't even write his own book, and he had it written by someone else, and got a book out that's a bestseller with his name front and center, as if he was the #1 author. And I'm sure they're doing some major profit sharing. So he was able to get another book under his wing, and written entirely by a different person, using his concepts.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think, don't quote me on this, but I'm almost 100% positive that he told Benjamin Hardy, I don't want any profits from the book. All I want is exposure for Strategic Coach.
Okay, and that's what he's getting,
right?
Multi-million-dollar company, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think that's it's just a phenomenal thing. So Dan Sullivan practiced what he preached with regards to the concept who, not how. And he also gives credit to Dean Jackson. He's a marketer in the real estate industry, but he gives Dean Jackson the credit of the actual concept of who, not how. Dan is the one that actually expands on the concept of who, not how. So Dan originally didn't even come up with the phrase who, not how. One of his team members, or how do you want to say it? One of his circle of influencers, right?
Yeah.
Came up with it, and then Dan's like, "That is perfect." And Dean's like, "This isn't my lane. This is your lane. I do this. You're the entrepreneurial coach. You take it and run with it."
And by the way, I'm going to just mention this and throw it out there, because we're in talks, you and I, of writing our own book together. We haven't decided whether we're going to do it or not. We've chatted about it, and we're going to come up with some concepts. But I think that we would be a good fit to put out a really great book for the industry, martial art industry, on, how to have the most successful school ever. So I think that'd be pretty awesome.
So we got to come up with another book next month. Can I give it to you?
No, you didn't get it. I don't know. I didn't see it. Let me see. What are you thinking?
We're going to do Atomic Habits.
I don't have that one, but I'm going to buy. I'll buy it. Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yeah. Do you want me to buy it and send it to you?
No, I'm gonna get it on my digital version.
Kindle. Okay. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So we'll read that for the month of February, and then our first podcast in March 3rd. And that week, March 3rd, that's when we'll review that book and the action steps that we got from that book as well. All right. Thanks, Allie.
All right.
And I just want to remind everybody, listen, go to schoolownertalk.com. Like Allie said, there is a plethora of other podcasts. In fact, 264
Yeah,
other
and
podcasts.
please look into our sponsors, EliteInsights.com, website development company, Lead Hunter Media, Gus Lopez for Facebook and online marketing, and Facebook content for social media releases. And of course, Spark Membership, which is our software company that you and I use. And so many people from our podcast have gotten involved with Spark. So, Dwayne, thanks so much. I appreciate you. You have a great day, and we'll talk soon. All right, dude, have a great day.